Thank you all for being here on this beautiful evening. We are here to celebrate a life well lived. We honor our friend, family, compatriot, and rabble-rouser, Barb Reynolds. Not Barbara, not Babs, definitely not Barbie, only Barb. We cherish her memory and we delight in the joy she brought into our lives. I met Barb only 1 year ago, but I immediately felt like I had known her forever. 3 days after we met, I was texting her about something, and I mentioned that I was bummed because I had a sty on my eye. She said, "Oh, I hate it when that happens. We should write a limerick about it." And I thought, well, she did say she was a poet, but that's really specific. So I thought, challenge accepted. So I wrote back, "There once was a girl from Dubai whose sty overtook her left eye. Your turn." And she wrote back immediately, "The sight in her right didn't let in much light. Now she sits in the dark eating pie." What's not to love about that? So tonight, let's take this moment in this place with all of us, family and friends who loved her, to revel in the memories and the celebration of Barb Reynolds. We start the program with a song. Barb was an avid music lover. Most of you know that. She was always listening to music, always singing at the top of her lungs, and always supporting her musician friends. So first up, here's longtime friend, pianist and composer, Tammy Lynn Hall.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening, everyone. Our friendship lasted for 43 years. 43 years. She did it her way. She did it her way. She lived life with a gravitas and a profound and wonderful irreverence, too. Barb never took herself too seriously, even when we were in our 20s. We met at a produce market. Yeah. Abby Lincoln is the composer of this song, and I think Barb epitomized what Abby was talking about, and that is about being generous of spirit and being honest with yourself first and not being afraid to throw it out there, and if it doesn't come back, it's all right. It's all right. You can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. But be free with what you give. Be free and genuine about it. You don't have to expect reciprocity. Just be that. Be your best you. And that was certainly Barb. I think about the life I live. A figure made of clay. I think about the loves I lost and things I threw away. And when I'm in a certain mood, I search the halls and look. One night I found these magic words in a magic book. Throw Give your love each and every day, and keep your hands wide open, and let the sun shine through, 'cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. There's a hand to rock the cradle, and a hand to help us stand, with a gentle kind of motion that moves across the land. And the hands unclenched and open, gifts of life and love it brings. So keep your hands wide open if you're needing anything. Throw it away. Throw it away. Give your love. Live your life each and every day. And keep your hands wide open, and let the sun shine through, 'cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. Throw it away. Throw it away. Give your love. Live your life each and every day. And keep your hands wide open, and let the sun shine through, 'cause you can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. You can never, ever lose a thing if it belongs to you. You can never lose a thing if it belongs to you. Love all around. Love all around. Thank you.
I want to acknowledge Barb's family who are here tonight. Her sister Eve is here, along with aunties, cousins, nieces, and nephews, Carol, Kim, Robin, Linda, Connie, Kayla, Jake, and Lizzie. Thank you for sharing Barb with us. Right now, we'll hear from Barb's cousin, Kim Weiss, and Kim will share the eulogy.
Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you today to celebrate the remarkable life of a truly beautiful human being. I feel the weight of this moment deeply because words mattered so much to Barb and because every person in this room loved her so very immensely. How do you begin to sum up the life of someone so captivating and inspiring? Barb left a legacy of courage, creativity, and fierce love. Barb was our cousin, Robin's, and mine. Our moms were sisters, 2 of 9 children, just 4 years apart. And we didn't grow up together. Barb lived in Southern California, and we were in Iowa. We only saw each other one time as children. From the Midwest, we imagined their lives as very glamorous, living near Hollywood, with a pool even, surrounded by celebrities and their Uncle Gene, the legendary, kind-hearted screenwriter, director, and producer. And the letters that our moms exchanged painted a mostly idyllic picture, except for that one time when Mom and a few other relatives went to visit the family in California. Barb's parents got into a fight, and her father, Ed, shattered the patio door with a hammer. It was brushed under the rug, and we really had no idea what was going on inside that house. Barb, born 2 months premature, and the youngest of 3 sisters, grew up in that chaos. But even as a child, she was fierce and protective, jumping into the middle of fights to try to protect others. The fire in her never dimmed. As a teenager, Barb endured unimaginable trauma. She was violated in a way that no one ever should be, and I speak about this because she wrote about them. Barb wrote about the hard stuff because she believed in the truth. And so rather than being destroyed by her pain, she transformed that suffering into purpose, and she became a fierce advocate for survivors of rape and abuse. In high school, Barb was cruelly outed, and her mother, struggling with alcoholism, rejected her and told her that she would never be accepted into our family because of her lifestyle. So Barb and her family stayed away. But that rejection, Barb turned it into fuel, into advocacy. She marched against war and for equal rights, for civil rights, for LGBTQ rights. I fought hard for peace, she once told me, because I craved it so much as a child. Barb was a seeker and an adventurer, and she loved recounting her travels through Italy and Europe with her sister Eve, and they had some really, really good times. When she was 17, Barb moved to the Bay Area. Later, reflecting on her life, she said, given all the extreme trauma bonding, we all had to splinter off to thrive. And thrive she did. She earned a degree in psychology from UC Berkeley, and she followed that with the master's in clinical psychology from JFK University. She was gifted, and she was always intellectually curious. And it was there that Barb began to form her pack, a brilliant circle of intellects, artists, musicians, activists, co-workers, and lovers. And her life was filled with people that reflected that same fire and compassion. From the early days at City, Paul, to her work in social services, Barb created deep and lasting bonds with friends who became her chosen family. For 22 years, Barb worked as an emergency response child abuse investigator in Oakland, where she had her work trio. And she dedicated her passion and energy to help thousands of children in crisis. So while others watched the major news events unfold from their television, Barb walked straight into them, wearing only her flak vest and guarded by a team of officers. And that's how we met Sylvia. Barb loved you dearly, Sylvia. She once described her work as really, really satisfying, and she meant it. Amid her demanding career, Barb also helped her father manage a real estate portfolio. And he was a complicated man, and he could be very cruel, but he respected her because Barb had a sharp mind, and she knew how to hold her ground. During that time, I moved to San Francisco from Boston, and my niece Lizzie came to live with me. And during my weekly phone calls with Mom, she kept urging me to reach out to Barb. And at first I protested. I mean, I did not even know my cousin Barb. But Mom was insistent. She's family, she said, and family sticks together. Call her. Okay, so I did, just for brunch, non-committal, just one brunch. And that brunch lasted hours. Remember that, Sylvia? It migrated into dinners, and dinners migrated into very, very, very late night karaoke. And I'm sorry, universe, that you had to listen to that. And before I knew it, Barb had woven herself into our lives, making precious memories with food, music, and laughter, and surrounded by the most incredible people, many of whom are in this room today. Around this time, our Aunt Verda passed away, and after some very persistent coaxing, Barb agreed to fly back to Iowa with Sylvia for the memorial. And you know what? They were welcomed with open arms, and I literally mean open arms. And she was very, very moved by it, and so were we. And it breaks my heart to think about all of those lost years, but I will assure you that we did our best to make up for lost time. Barb valued time. She had no patience for small talk. Girl, you know how she said that? Girl, I live in the deep waters. And if you could not dive down, and I mean really, really, really dive far, you really missed out. Because to know Barb was to feel everything, the deep belly laughs and the gut-wrenching tears, and often in the same conversation, and usually more than once in that conversation. And the depth that she felt is what made her such a powerful writer. And so Barb had always written, but it wasn't until she turned 50 that she could fully dedicate herself to her craft. Her debut poem, Triptych for Christopher, which honored her stepson who died of AIDS, became the most read poem in the history of ANU magazine. Over the years, her words were published in journals and anthologies, and she authored 5 books. She read at venues across the country, and it was poetry that brought her to Provincetown, or P-Town, as we call it, out east, a place that she fell in love with. So with the help of Val and Diane, Barb bought a sweet little cottage right by the water, which became her sanctuary. And she built more family there. So I see you, Zoom sisters. One of you are here today. She joined and founded writing groups, always pushing her voice and others to new places. She loved the craft and the community that it gave her. When Barb turned 50, she was also formally diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Suddenly, the mysterious fractures, the pain, it all made sense to her. She pursued therapies, she endured multiple surgeries, and ultimately, she tried to manage her chronic pain. And when doctors told her there was nothing else they could do, Barb, true to form, started writing her 6th book, Quality of Life, a journey through illness and devastation, through grace and grief, with a collection of 50 breathtaking poems. With her love of travel and the realization that things were winding down, Barb gathered about 15 of her closest friends and rented a villa in Tuscany, treating them to a week of wine tastings, tours, spa retreats, and joy. Her friends, in turn, surprised her with a candlelit night of affirmation in a little sanctuary next door. Barb was profoundly moved by that gesture, and she teared up every time she talked about it. Though she lived with immense pain, Barb often said she was grateful to have a heads up. She wanted to choose her ending with grace and dignity and peace. Her first attempt here in California was private, and very few knew. And we would have held it in our hearts forever. But Barb, brave and unflinching, penned 12 more poems about that heart-wrenching experience and added them to her book, Quality of Life, completing the collection with 62 pieces. And so almost a year later, at the age of 62, and with the gentle support of Paul and Claudia and Dean, Barb made her peaceful exit in Switzerland after a short jaunt to Paris and a train ride through the rolling hills. And Barb didn't die alone. She died on her terms and surrounded by love. One of our last Zoom calls before the trip, Barb said to me and Robin, "Man, I'm going to miss this because I love it here so much. But of course it dawns on me that when I'm gone, I won't miss anything. People who love me will feel the void, but apparently I'll be off frolicking and raising hell in some other realm." So to Barb, our sister cousin, we love you. We celebrate you. We miss you fiercely. And to everyone here, as Barb would say, go well.
Next, we're going to hear from Barb's poetry coach, poet and playwright Allison Luderman.
Hi. Oh, Kim, that was beautiful. I knew Barb for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, something like that, and we shared poetry, and I did coach her. I'm not the only one who was her coach and teacher, but it was a precious relationship. When you work together on poems, it's very intimate. You're sharing details, very personal details, and yet at the same time trying to make something beautiful. And like probably many people in this room, I'm also the grateful recipient of a lot of Barb's legendary generosity out back in our garden. When she was downsizing, she gave away tools. My husband has some of her beautiful tools. She gave us a garden box, which is the subject of the poem. She was, books, coffee mugs, she was take it, like Tammy's song. So this is called How to Grow Grief Potatoes. Just buy a bag of fingerlings, neglect for a month or so until they start sprouting small protuberances, little knobby bits, the way old people's skin will pucker and bristle with stray, hairy oddments. Then, when you have a minute, carry the whole thing out back to the raised bed Barb bequeathed us when she was downsizing, after she'd received her diagnosis and knew there'd be no more gardening for her, no more lugging sacks of good dirt and spading up holes for seedlings. She moved herself into a condo by a lagoon where she could watch ducks from her deck, write poems, and prepare for death. Planting potatoes in her old garden box is my way of honoring that darkness. Because they go wizened and squint-eyed into the earth, looking like something the cat coughed up, only to emerge a few months later smooth as river stones, plump as new babies. I remember her smile, her halo of hair, the way we teased each other, bent over her poems, fixing a line here and there. Dive deeper, I'd say, and she would. She was tough, generous, and radiant. These are just words on a page, but out back, under cover of night, the grief potatoes I planted are multiplying. Soon they'll be big enough to harvest, and I'll dig with ungloved hands for the pleasure of finding hidden treasure in my own backyard. But I will not see the likes of Barb again. Thank you.
Now it's time for a slideshow curated by Barb's longtime friend, neighbor, and playmate, photographer and videographer Irene Young. Wow, that was beautiful. Okay, now it's time for another song. This one from longtime friend, pianist and composer Adrian Torf.
Many of you have already spoken to the fact that Barb loved music. I would add to that Barb very specifically and clearly understood that music comes from musicians, and she loved those of us who make music. And I'm looking around the room today at so many of us. I first had the extraordinary pleasure of realizing that Barb saw and heard me as a musician when she asked Barbara Higbee, Tammy, and I to provide music for the documentary film that she was making about a beloved relative. And this is one of the pieces that would have been and might still be in that film. It's a piece I wrote called Things I Cannot Say.
Thanks, Annie. Barb met our next speaker during the pandemic, and they formed a monthly poets group which they called themselves the Illustrious Poets Society. Please welcome Michelle Latvala.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone. I was just feeling during 80s playing that if anything would bring Barb in the room, it would be the piano keys. So beautiful. And Kim and Allison already spoke to this part of Barb as poet and writer, and I'll speak a little more to that, but also want to bring into the room Barb as mentor, Barb as young elder. And for those of us who are getting started later in life on our poetry, similar, actually, I started in my 50s too. And she was an incredible mentor and partner and collaborator and troublemaker. And she was the first person I asked to be a reader of the 50 poems that became a book. And she instantly said yes. And I met her for lunch at Leon's Cafe and gave her the manuscript, and she was like, "It's like your kid's going away to camp. It better behave." And she came back and told me it's a book, and it went from there. And it came out a few weeks before she passed, so I was able to give her a book in person, and the book is dedicated to her and to Barb Reynolds, a remarkable poet, a remarkable human. And in those final years, while she was still giving, again, considerable life force to so many of us in the room, as Kim said, she was writing furiously her own book to be published posthumously, the 50 poems, and then the additional dozen poems that I had the honor of helping review and edit during that really sensitive time period. And there's postcards, describing how to find the book. And I want to actually bring into the room the preface to that book that Irene Young, beautiful friend and videographer, photographer here tonight, wrote. And it really does such a gorgeous job of telling us what we can expect in this book. As you read the poems in this book, you might surmise that Barb Reynolds, in her last 2 years of life, became a master of meaningful brevity. In her 62 years, she likely lived more fully, with more heart than most mortals who stretch into their 90s. However, within those last 24 months is when her legacy became golden. With absolute certitude, she penned each poem so together they would hold the potency of a 400-page autobiography. She has given us the opportunity to witness not only the depth of her art, but also the profundity of her passing. The inspiring life experience that vitalized her poetry seldom included question marks. By contrast, there were various exclamation points expressed, pianissimo to fortissimo. She was nourished by friends, laughter, and music. And if you are receptive enough to feel her poetry with your whole body, you may hear the decrescendo of a soundtrack beneath her words. Among the thousands of conversations I had with this poet, one, in the final month of her life, left a significant impression. When she casually mentioned yet another generous deed, I looked her in the eye, and in staccato fashion, I said, "Barb, you are changing people's lives." And she said, "Good." Classic Barb Reynolds. If these poems inspire you, deepen you, perplex you, or soften you, good. The brave and gifted poet revealed within these pages will deservedly rest easy. Thank you, Irene, for that. Yeah. And so another special offering that Barb, in her infinite generosity, in the last several weeks of her life, she wanted to offer 6 poems from that book collection to us here tonight. She envisioned this experience. So she invited 5 of us to read specific poems that she chose for each of us. And so she curated poem, speaker, and video so that we could hear through the words while we are all together tonight. And these are not easy poems. They are beautiful, they are profound, and they give us a precious window, especially into Barb's home stretch. So now is the time for that video. Thank you so much. Once I could fend for myself, defend a friend, grab a hammer, tile a floor, first responder in charge of my case. Now before me are all the things I cannot do. In long ago times, I might be set out on the ice or left in a cave with a pot of rice, thrown into a river, thrown off a cliff, set on fire while my loved ones pray around the pyre. None of that sounds appealing. Maybe the one where an elder who turns 60 must drink hemlock, because there's no way I'm sitting in a cave waiting it out.
I just received an email about 2 deliveries totaling 3 boxes that were left outside my door. I nudge them with my foot to assess their weight, study their dimensions. I've got to figure out the least number of movements it will take to get those boxes inside with my legs, and then turn them over with my feet to the taped sides, where I'll cut them open with my so-called good arm.
Gave up driving last week. Set down my keys. Now friends take me around. Call it driving Miss Daisy. They help pull my seatbelt across, open and close my door. I take their arms now when we walk, just in case my hip decides it would be hilarious to give out. I let them cut my food, joke about letting them fan, feed, and carry me. I thought it would be harder to let driving go, like my father who called a locksmith to cut a new key when we took his away. But when it hurt too much to turn the wheel, I knew I had to give it up before it was taken from me, as my home soon would be because of the stairs, and who knows what else if I stick around. What lies before me is enormous. The alternative is intolerable.
Yes, I know. Some people have it worse. Some have it better. There will always be someone more able, smarter, prettier, thinner, funnier. Well, maybe not funnier. I heard about a woman whose luggage was stolen, and inside her suitcase was the urn holding her husband's ashes. And I think about the thief. When he opened that bag and saw it, did he say, "Oh shit," and have a moment of regret before pushing the urn aside to rummage for something more valuable? I think of the trek my ashes will take from San Francisco to Provincetown, inside Paul's suitcase, inside a twist-tied plastic bag, inside the airline's pre-approved container. I think of how each of my friends will take a handful and cast it out onto Cape Cod Bay, across the road, and around my cottage garden. How they'll make a wish as they release it, the remains gritty and the powder left in the lifelines of their palms.
My biggest fear is that my last untorn limb will tear and I'll go down, say, on a sidewalk. Someone will call an ambulance, because why wouldn't they? And I'll be taken to a hospital where doctors will determine that I can no longer live alone, as if they're the boss of me. And I'll be sent to exist in a facility where hopefully kind strangers will bathe and feed me, and I'll linger there, twisting and disgruntled, with people always around me, people always around. And there goes my chance to be left alone, to do this my way.
When the sun is surely sinking down, but the moon is slowly rising, this old world will still be spinning round, and I still love you. So close your eyes. You can close your eyes, it's alright. I don't know no love songs, I can't sing the blues anymore. Oh, but I can sing this song, and you can sing this song when I'm gone. It won't be long before another day we're gonna have a good time, and no one's gonna take that time away. You can stay as long as you like. So close your eyes. You can close your eyes, it's alright. I don't know no love songs, I can't sing the blues anymore. Oh, but I can sing this song, and you can sing this song when I'm gone.
And now we're going to hear from Paul and Dean and Claudia.
A little short here. First of all, I want to thank these two here. What an amazing triangle we made when we took the journey to Switzerland. And I think this has been a life-changing event for us and redefines our friendship much deeper. And I want to thank you both for being there with me. I truly believe we are led by the universe and that all life is connected and that our paths are paved with angels and good spirits. Certainly was our experience as we traveled through Europe. It seemed like everybody kind of knew something about us, something different about us, that they guided us with their kindness, whether it was the crazy host at the restaurant in Paris who danced and kept Barb laughing while the bartender and the waiter was raising their hands, singing to music and dancing around. It really brought a lot of life to us. To the car that we followed off of the Autobahn, who had a logo on the back window that said the Mad Angel, which was the restaurant in the basement of the hotel we were going to, like they were leading us there. And of course, Jasper, who was the waiter at the restaurant, who took such good care of Barb and brought laughter and joy to her and insisted that he wheel her to the elevator. These were all beautiful spirits that guided us as we went along and supported us in this journey. And yes, the universe did lead us, and that life is connected, and the road is paved with beautiful angels and kind spirits. I believe in these moments there's a lesson, a message, a gift that we get in these defining times. The first gift is knowing that Barb passed peacefully and is in no longer pain, and I'm so thankful for that. The second gift is the magnitude of the love that she brought to me. And I find that our sorrow is so deep when our love is even deeper. And I think there's beauty in that we loved so strongly. And the third involves you. Barb weaved quite a tapestry of friends, and she weaved me into that. And for that, I am thankful that we are friends. And I do believe that when we see each other and look into each other's eyes, there'll be the feeling and the thoughts of Barb everlasting. I thank you all for loving her so. Dear sister, I will forever hold on to your words, your smile, laughter, and your incredible love for me as I for you. What a blessing you have been in my life. Thank you a million times for embracing me and holding me so dearly in your life. Caterpillar to butterfly, caterpillar to butterfly. Spread your wings, fly into the beyond and unknown. Let your melodies soothe us. Soar and cast your profound words and spread laughter, countless giggles, and many crack-me-ups throughout the universe. Forever holding you dear in my heart, I love you. Catman to Miss Beefly, Catman to Miss Beefly. See you on the other side, over and out.
It's truly an honor to be here with you all. Yes. It's truly an honor to be here with you all this evening and to be able to share in the beauty that was Barb. I spent over 40 years with Barb in her life, and she was like a sister to me, and I will always treasure her incredible laughter and joy of embracing life the way she did, even to the very end. I will say that when we were in Liestal in Switzerland, a little earthy story of being tasked to go out and find a bottle of Johnny Walker Black Label, which was her favorite, and which we proceeded to polish off the night before she left us. We woke up that next morning clear-eyed, resolute, awake and aware, and grateful for the four of us to be all there together with her and together as she made her final journey on. And I can't begin to be thankful that I had the opportunity to stand by her side and to wish her onwards into the great unknown, but which I know that she which she embraced with like I said, a resoluteness that was incredible. And I think I will let Claudia continue on. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to take you on a journey, our journey. I put these slides together. And before we left, I just want to talk about something Barb said. She was getting a little anxious when we were leaving and saying, oh my God, what if you guys piss me off? What am I going to do? And I said, you're going to let us know, like you always let us know, in that scorpion way. And so I saw this thing that popped up, and it was just this weird thing, and it said, don't look for the triggers in life, look for the glimmers. And those glimmers popped up the whole journey. And the first glimmer was the first slide you saw up there. We flew through a rainbow when we were on the plane. And as my firstborn child reminded me, this is going to be a path of transitions. You were right. And everywhere we went, it was like we were on this path that was guided by people, by angels, by the kindest people in foreign countries, everywhere around us. No matter what we needed, we didn't let Barb know when there was something that wasn't quite right, like the room wasn't right. We'd go to concierge and say, that room's really not right for my friend. Can you change it? And the next day, she's in a 2-bedroom suite. When we got to New York, we wanted to find a place that had cocktails. And so we had like a 4-hour layover, and I found this beautiful woman dressed as a pilot. She probably was a pilot. And I said to the guys, hold it back a little minute. And they chit-chat to Barb, and I went, hey, we really need a good place. We need a cocktail. I saw it on my phone. I can't find it. And she said, oh, it's a TWA terminal. It's now a hotel. Oh, you got to go. And I said to her, can you come with me a second? Can you come talk to my friend? Convince her that we got to go. Because she said, yeah, you got to check out. You got to check back in. You got to go through security again. I was like, oh, just come tell her that she has to do this. So she came over and talked to Barb and said, oh, you got to go there, honey. And she was holding her and saying, oh, you're going to love it. So we did. We went to the elevator, and this beautiful young girl pushed Barb in a wheelchair to the elevator. And she said, oh, you're going to love this because it's more your age. And Barb cracked up laughing. And as we got there, it was hilarious. The year Barb was born was 1962. And there was this red carpet laid out, but she had to get out of the wheelchair. She couldn't walk down, and her hips were killing her. And we were like, come on, girl, you can do it. You can do it. There's whiskey at the end of this. So we walked down the red carpet. We got into the terminal, and I was like, shit, we got to get back in her wheelchair. How are we going to do this? You run over to, like, concierge valet, and he said, oh, there's no wheelchairs here, but let me go look. You know, another angel. Ran outside and found a wheelchair and said, hey, take this. Somebody dropped it off. We took the wheelchair, whizzed it round to the bar, and we're like, oh, she can chill now. She can have a drink. We can have a good time. And we did. And isn't it beautiful? I'm so glad we went there. And again, Paris was a transition. Bob didn't want to get there too early. We went to a place where she wanted to go. And Dean
Took her to a place that she really wanted to go. But my French is terrible. My German's better. Where did we go? You got tickets, right?
Oh, to the Musée d'Orsay. And it was there that Barb was completely captivated by Degas' The Little Dancer, the sculpture, and was a completely wonderful moment watching Barb enraptured by the Degas sculpture, and with tons of people milling around us, and it was a lovely afternoon, and then having lunch in the fabulous restaurant there.
Well, you can see Sacré-Cœur through the window.
Yes.
It's crazy. Again, as Paul was saying, along our journey, we went to this restaurant, and people were just so funny and so fun. We had an Italian meal in Paris, which is kind of bizarre, but Bob kind of liked it. But the guy there was hilarious, and he really gave Paul a hard time. He was like this shtick the whole night. But, oh my God, we laughed. And that dessert, Dean ate it. Bob wanted to take a train, and first we were going to fly to Zurich and take a train, and it was a long-ass 8 hours, and we were like, no, you can't do that. So we went from Paris to Basel, which was just over 3 hours. Everywhere we went, the porters helped us. It was just like we just sped through everywhere. The gates opened. There was only us. We're just walking through, nobody else. This photograph was that moment. That transition moment when we were leaving Paris and we were heading to our destination. I saw Bob looking out the window, and I just captured it for a second. And she said, "Are you taking pictures of me sneakily?" And I was like, hell yeah. But when I see this picture, I just want to know, what's in your mind? What are you thinking? Where are you, girl? But we were traveling through this gorgeous countryside in Dijon. It was beautiful. The train journey was enough. And just as we were approaching Basel, the next person came, "Do you need assistance at the end? We're going to take care of you." Everybody was taking care of us. And here we arrived at Liestal, where Dean and I took over speaking German after Barb was speaking such beautiful French. Ein bisschen. Hotel Engel is Hotel Angel. Mad Angel, here he is. The dessert fiend. The spoons are pointed at him. This was our last supper, which was just pure joy. We laughed so much. It was so funny. And we had this amazing waiter, Jasper, who insisted even taking Barb to the elevator. He was so much fun. It was, again, like these people were planted along our journey to make it easier for us. That night, we had a party in her room. She said, "Fuck these cargo pants. They're going in the trash." And so they did. Dean had found one of her favorite drinks, and we didn't have enough ice. So the ice pack on my head that was Paul searched and found these beautiful ice packs where we could put ice from the kitchens, which we did. We took the ice from that and put it in our drinks. Bob said, "That's more important. We should have ice and, scotch with ice." And those photos, we kind of reveled on her bed, giggling and laughing and crying. We cried a lot. We sobbed that night. But we laughed and laughed. And I think we come to our last photograph. blurry because we were blurry. It was a beautiful time. The next morning was the first time we were separated. We drove to our destination as three, and Barb drove with the other person in front of us. And we saw them talking, and then we saw them laughing. But we were kind of quiet because there was a void in our car. It was almost, again, the same transitions. We had to transition out, and this was our first little encounter for 30 minutes. When Barb left us, her last words, as we held her, as we were by her side and with her and loved her, she said, "Thank you all. I love you all." And when she said those words, I look in this room, and I don't think it was just for us three. I think "I love you all" was for every one of you in this room. She did love you all. And that's why you're here today, because she loved you so much. When Barb transitioned, I went to the door and opened the door, and some air just blew in. We were in this beautiful setting, almost like the view from out that window as you look at the field, the trees. It was gorgeous. And at the time, an orange butterfly came and flew down and circled twice and flew off. And I was like ecstatic and crazy and said, "Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see the orange butterfly?" She always said she would come back as a butterfly. And this was a really special butterfly, a Kaisermantel Schmetterling, which translates as the emperor's coat. It's one of these unusual butterflies that come only in the summer. But here we were in the spring. And we took that as our sign that our sweet Barb was going off in spirit. She was running with joy. She was going in those fields like we talked about. But she was no longer there. But we knew that was a sign that we'd be okay. And we were. We were okay. We got dessert for Dean. We were okay. It was difficult letting her go. Really, really difficult. And every day is difficult. And I found purpose in putting together this beautiful room for her family and her friends. And it's hard to believe she's not here. But please do stay and enjoy your time here and look at, Barb's life. And most important, she wants us all to dance. So we got to shake our booties. Right on.
You got to dance. Mm-hmm. You got to dance.
Thank you all for coming.
We've got one more musician tonight. She just flew in from Portugal. Barb's longtime friend, Barbara Higbee.
I knew they had left that morning for the trip, and I just sat down at the piano, and this song came, and a flood of tears came. So I'm just going to play this one. And apparently I recorded it on my phone and sent it to them just as a well wish for the trip. And Barb chose to listen to it as she was passing, so just because it was of that moment. So just called for Barb.
I'm going to close. Barb Reynolds, Godspeed. We miss you like crazy. Here's what I think. If you live a meaningful life, you never really die. Instead, you break into 1,000 pieces, each of which stay alive within the people whose life you've touched along the way. That's a lot of people, Barb. So I quote from the musical Wicked, "Because I knew you, I have been changed for good." And I think we all feel that way. She was quite a force, Barb Reynolds. So I'm going to close with a Native American prayer. I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on the snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new dawn. So let's raise a glass, or a proverbial glass. Raise your hand up high to our beloved Barb Reynolds. Barb, your table is ready. On 3, we're going to shout her name. 1, 2, 3. Barb! There will be dancing outside in a few minutes. Still plenty to eat and drink, so get your dance on. And that concludes our program for Barb Reynolds.